Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and on this episode of the Crack House Chronicles, Dale and I were invited last week to South Point High School in Belmont, North Carolina. We were invited by Miss Jennifer Sanders. She is the forensics teacher there, and her class has taken a deep dive into the Asha Degree case. And I cannot express the amount of work her class has done in investigating Asha's case. They have posters and documents and all kinds of stuff they've posted out in the hallways for people to look at, and the stuff in the classroom they've investigated. And we were invited by this class to come and talk to them, and they were so gracious to us. They welcomed us in, and they had this class, well, actually we talked to two classes, and they had so many questions about our podcast, about the Asha Degree case, about other cases we've covered, and they were just so well informed and well spoken. And we wanted to record this episode, or record our adventures there, to make into a podcast episode. So this is what this week's episode is about. We hope everyone enjoys it, and as soon as we get back from this short break, we will bring you this episode.
We want to welcome y'all here to South Point High School.
We're glad to be here. This is awesome. We didn't expect all this. This is amazing.
Don't get too excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Get your questions out.
Control yourself. Control yourself.
That's right. Or nice thing.
Yeah, this is awesome. So let me ask a question first. What got you guys interested in forensics and crime scene stuff? I got an extra mic right here. We'll pass it around. Anybody wants to talk? You look like you were ready to talk.
It's cool, like just seeing everything that happens.
Yeah?
I wanted to learn how like you can solve a murder and all the steps that go into it,
Yeah.
and how to get away with it too.
How to get away with it.
Not like that though, just like
Watch him, yeah.
yeah, I guess.
I want to be a criminal defense attorney
Oh, yeah.
and a forensic psychologist. So I thought I should start here and then take it to college, hopefully.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Good deal. Anybody else want to talk about why they got interested in forensics and crime scene investigation?
My mom watches a lot of true crime shows.
Okay. So you watch with her?
Sometimes.
Okay. Good deal.
My dad's a police officer, so like I've always been around it my whole life, and I thought it was like really interesting. And so I've always been interested in that stuff.
Okay, cool. Oh, this guy over here in the South Point. I thought it was a Crest shirt, but it's South Point.
I thought it would be a pretty cool class, to learn about everything and, learn about murders and stuff.
Yeah.
Be pretty cool,
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it's a very cool class. It's the first I ever heard of this going on around. So it's shout out to Ms. Sanders for getting this going.
Yeah, this is a first for us. Yeah, we hadn't done anything like this. So this is interesting, and we wanted to record this, and we'll actually get it together this weekend and drop it for next week's episode. I'll compile it all together. So
That's the plan.
yeah, it goes all over the world. So it's pretty dang cool. So what kind of questions do you guys have? What do you want to talk about? Some of the questions y'all came up with. I'm going to hand this mic, and when you get done, whoever's next, would you mind passing it to them?
What is the most disturbing case you've studied or like looked at? Like that you
The
think
most disturbing
most
case?
disturbing?
Oh my goodness, there's been several. I don't know, some of the serial killers we've covered, Bill Bonin was pretty rough.
Sacramento Vampire was rough.
Richard Allen Chase, yeah, he was. I don't know if you listened to that. It's pretty. Some of the stuff he did, pretty rough to describe. Scorecard killer. Yeah, he would actually keep notes, and they found that scorecard under the spare tire in the trunk of his car.
Yeah. There's a lot of killers that are way worse than the big ones you always hear about. Everybody wants to talk about the Gacy and Bundy's and those guys, and they were bad. Don't get me wrong, but there's some guys that we do that are just way, way, way worse, more torture kind of killers.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do a lot of the big names because they've been done so many times. So that's why we kind of just try to weed through and find lesser known stuff, but that don't mean they're lesser violent killers. A good way.
There's some of them pretty violent that we've covered, and they really rival with Bundy and Gacy and Dahmer and some of those.
Which we have done Ed Gein and Richard Ramirez. I think that's probably
Yeah.
the biggest profiles.
But they're all, just to answer your question, I think they all have their own thing about them that makes them one more gruesome than the other. It's like we'll study a case and then we'll look at it. It's like, can you imagine? Can it get any worse than this? And we'll study another one, and it's something you don't even think about. Some of the crimes they did. That
And what they did to people.
yeah, something rough.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
good question.
yeah, very good question.
Who's next?
Who got the mic?
She's got it.
Okay.
Was it hard to like get y'all's podcast like started, or did it like catch attention like pretty quickly?
It was rough in the beginning. It started in early 2019, and I'd listened to podcasts for a while and wanted to do one and figure out which direction I wanted to go. And I like true crime and mysteries and solved and unsolved cases and things, and just trying to find a host for the show, because you have to upload it to a host that distributes all the episodes out to the platforms, Apple,
Not a
Spotify.
speaking host, but
Yeah,
platform.
a platform, as you like Dale said, and getting that going and figuring out how it's supposed to be done, and the editing part it was a big learning curve. Not just learning cases, but learning the technical part of it. And I learned something new every week doing this. I didn't know I could do this or do it this way to make it easier. It's always something learning about it. And I watch a lot of YouTube people that do podcasts and technique they use, and you can learn a lot of things, but it was a big learning curve at the beginning. It still is.
Yeah, Donnie does all the technical stuff. I make the graphics and talk. So he does all the work. I'm just getting the glory.
Yeah, it's a combination.
Guys standing in the corner here.
Yeah, it's a combination effort between him and I to put this thing together. Because we usually we try to record on a Thursday or Friday, and I'll edit it over the weekend, put it together, and Dale does the graphics and stuff, and compiling all my show notes and stuff to be able to compact it into the episode and upload it. So I'll work on it on Friday night and some on Saturday, and then drop it on Sunday. And we have a Patreon that I put it on. Then those guys pay for our episodes, so there's no ads or anything like that. They get it a day early, and it's still all ad free. So
when we first started, it was kind of like we would get together and record, and then of course that was like he had transitioned. He'd done like the first 14 episodes with somebody else, and then he kind of shut it down because he didn't like the direction. Then he called me and asked me if I want to try it. I'm like, sure. So we would go and do a record, and it would maybe be a while before we would do another one, and then we kind of got together and we would do a different night depending on what was going on. And finally, we decided, listen, we're going to do this. Let's get it, be consistent, And we tried dropping on different days. And then people were like, dude, we need something to listen to first of the week when we go to work. So we said, so that's how it become to do. Now we drop it like at 4:00 in the morning on a Monday. So everybody, if you go to work that day, you got something fresh to listen to on a Monday. And being consistent, it helped a lot. That because then people know they know they can go there and it's there. So even if we got a lot going on, we will try so hard, even if we have to squeeze it in somewhere to keep it going. We hate to miss a week because it makes a big difference.
Yeah, we have recorded on a Sunday evening before, and I edit it Sunday night and drop it Monday morning.
Yeah. Because, life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way, family things.
Yeah.
His wife just had surgery recently on the shoulder.
Yeah, we would have had some more stuff to bring you guys, but like 2 days before my birthday, my wife fell on the floor and blew her shoulder out. So she's got like 9 screws in her shoulder now. So a lot of stuff going on, having to take care of her and this stuff, but we're still getting them out for you guys. So good question.
Yeah, very good question.
What's like the most unsettling case y'all have done? Like one that doesn't sit right with y'all?
Unsettling?
Yeah.
Solved or unsolved?
Unsolved.
Unsolved? Oh, goodness. I have to think about that one for a minute. There's been several. We've got, 240 something episodes.
Yeah.
There's several unsolved in
The
there.
hard part about this is you cram for a week. Like say we don't do this full time, and I don't know if anybody comes. I wish we could, but we just don't pay enough right yet. Anyway, hopefully it'll be later. But so while we're working, wherever we listen to podcasts or read and do everything the whole week, and then go in and give a good show, then you got to forget all that and start over. So it's like we run into people and they go, "Hey, this episode so and so happened." We're like, what happened in that episode? Because you just kind of have to blank your memory and start all over, So it's kind of difficult, but especially with 240 episodes. But
And it's also like, just put it in your eyes or your mindset. It's like studying all week and then standing up in front of the class and giving a book report on what you studied, really.
and then you have to do another one next week.
Yeah. And you have to forget what you learned and start on something else. And people ask us, what's your episode about this week? Well, I can't remember because I'm already studying for the next 2 or 3 episodes down the road. So it's just, yeah. And the other part of your question was getting in a groove to put these episodes out and stuff. And we try to make them where they're 45 minutes, close to an hour. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a lot of people's commute time to work. And if they don't listen to all of it on the way to work, they can listen to it the rest of the way home.
Yeah. Some people put out 3 and 4 hour podcasts, but it's just hard to listen to all that,
Yeah.
So we found our sweet spot is 45 minutes to an hour, hour 10, sometimes an hour and a half if we do an interview, go a little bit longer, but that's different because you can kind of get into that and it don't seem like as long. We'll be talking about, it's an hour and a half already, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unsettling, the one that came to my mind was actually, we did J. Potter Mintz. She was a girl out in Leland, North Carolina that was murdered on her waterbed. I don't know if y'all listen to that, but I was going to tell you about that. I actually read in the news this morning that her youngest son, Andrew, he was 39, just passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But that's still unsolved. And a guy came in on her and murdered her, and her little 4-year-old was there and witnessed it. And,
Yeah. Left laying and sitting in the floor.
yeah.
Basically, she'd put an ad in for sale for a waterbed and somebody come and answer the ad. And apparently that was what they said.
That's what they claim.
Yeah.
But it's still unsolved.
Her mother went in and found her. Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad deal. Good question.
Very good question.
You went behind you.
You did.
Which catches your eye better, unsolved or solved cases?
Oh gosh, it really depends. We
try to mix it up.
we do. We try to mix it up. If there's a local case to North Carolina, we'll try to do it. If it's unsolved or solved. Actually, there's a case that we're looking in. We're wanting to do. It's unsolved from the North Carolina mountains. We've done several North Carolina Great Smoky Mountain disappearances, and the case we're studying is Derek Luking that I've been wanting to do. He's been missing from the North Carolina mountains. So I don't know. It really depends on how much exposure it's had, how many other podcasts have covered it. Because I'll look them up and see if this case has been covered 50 times. Do we want to do it? Do we not want to do it? 'Cause
Is there anything left?
yeah. So there's a lot of factors.
Then again, if you've had violent serial killer after serial killer, like, let's do somebody that's missing or something.
Yeah.
Take a little bit out of your head.
Yeah.
What did y'all think about the toy box killer?
The toy box killer.
Yeah, the toy box killer
That was
in New Mexico.
David Ray Parker.
Yes.
David Parker Ray. I get his name. That one is rough. That I've wanted to do it, but we don't know if we do it, should we include all the gruesome stuff with it? It's pretty violent.
That's one with the trailer, right?
Yeah, they had the soundproof trailer. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Yeah, it's been on our list to do. We just don't know, but it's a pretty rough episode. It's one of those lesser knowns that,
Feels pretty rough.
yeah,
I think we should do that.
we'll eventually do it. Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on what happened to Asha?
Opinion on what happened to Asha?
What's wrong with that question?
Go ahead, Dale. Well, Dale has this thing where what he calls the 100-yard theory.
It's the first 100 yards to me. That's
First 100 yards.
That's the whole key to the thing that nobody knows. I mean, and especially with all the stuff that just came out, and everybody's paying attention to the car and this and the Deadmans and all that. But to me, it all goes back to the first 100 yards. Why did she leave the house? From her house to Highway 18
It's about 100 yards.
is the whole case. I mean, sure, there's a lot of people who say that, I don't want to get too much in the weeds because a lot of people tell us stuff that if she got hit on the side of the road, per se, by somebody,
What got her
why
out
wasn't
there?
she there in the
Yeah.
beginning? You know, yeah, that may have been what killed her. We don't know. That's several rumors about that. But to me, the whole question is, why did she leave in the first place?
Yeah.
What made her go? That's the big thing to me.
What got a 9-year-old out of that house in the middle of the night?
In the rain,
Yeah.
scared of dark, scared of dogs.
She had the days leading up to this. She had played a basketball game on Saturday. That night, she went to a sleepover. And you know how girls are on sleepovers, or anybody goes to sleepovers, they're not going to sleep. They're going to stay up, party, and play games and have a good time. And then going into Sunday morning, she would have been tired. She'd been wore out. Then
Get up, go to church.
and get up and go to church. She would have been beat. This kid would have been wore out. And then,
Beat as in tired.
not as in tired, yeah. And then come home from church and go to her aunt's for lunch. She would have been wore out. And that Sunday night, going into Monday, she would have crashed. She would have been out. I mean, I've got kids. My kids were small at one time, and when they were 9 years old, when they went to bed, they were out. And to get them up for school, I had to literally pick them up out of bed, stand them on their feet to get them to wake up. It just blows my mind that she would have the wherewithal to wake up or stay awake till 2 a.m, 3 a.m, to sneak out of the house. That just blows my mind.
Y'all have an opinion on why she left?
I got several. I don't know. I mean, I got an opinion, but I just don't know if I want to go down the weeds, like Dale said, on the weeds on this. But
I mean, it's only like 5 miles from where we live.
yeah, and we pass by it every day. The little road she lived on, and where the missing sign is, I see it all the time, and I think about it. I mean, it's constantly there. But to get her out of that house, and this house was just y'all probably
It's a
seen
duplex.
It's a duplex.
You guys know what duplex is, right? You know, it's just an apartment. So it's not a big house where the families were really separated at night, and her and her brother shared a room. So it'd be like 2 bedrooms, a living room and a kitchen. That's it, with a bathroom probably in between the 2 bedrooms. Most duplexes are. So
Yeah.
It's not like they're really separated where you wouldn't know if somebody got up and snuck out. So it's really weird to me that it happened at all. So I just don't know.
I have looked into the Asha case for many years. We're similar in age, and I grew up here. Miss Sanders was actually my science teacher, and then we've stayed connected over the years. I graduated in 2013. We share an interest for criminal justice, so we've kept up with each other. I actually found you guys because I was researching the Asha case, and I sent Miss Sanders the Heather Terrell case, and I said, "What is this? Have you heard about it?" And she's like, "No." So we listened to it. What is your opinion on Heather Terrell and her story? I have messaged her back and forth on Facebook a little bit. So when I listened to your interview with her and then the messages, I can see kind of that she is a little bit all over the place. What is your perspective on her and how she's related to Asha?
Heather is a unique person. She's got a great story, and I have no doubt in my mind, something traumatic happened to her.
Yeah, we talked to her a lot.
Yeah,
before recording.
Yeah,
and talked to her, and she's like very emotional. So go ahead.
Something happened to her. I don't think it was anything to do with Asha Degree. It's she's got whatever happened to her. There was a crime committed, but I don't think it had anything to do with Asha Degree.
Is it possible? Yeah, it's probable.
Very possible.
Probably. I don't think something definitely happened to that lady.
Yes.
And then she sent us a bunch of pictures to corroborate, the stories about it being in the woods and the chains and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like you. I don't really know that it's connected. In her mind, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's trying to sensationalize what she's talking about to connect herself. But I think in her mind that it was true. I don't know. I think something definitely did happen to her.
Yeah.
But,
And they are very country. They live way out.
That's coming from us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just a different lifestyle. She's a great person. She's a great mom. She does a lot of stuff. I mean, she's involved in a lot of things. And I just don't know. I don't think it had anything to do with Asha.
Or David Crabtree.
Or David Crabtree. The David Crabtree part of it, maybe. Because, I don't know. I know the David Crabtree story, but I'm not invested on that as much as I am Asha Degree. So it would be really hard to say. And, she supposedly saw a dead boy in the back of that car.
With the bag wrapped around his face.
Yeah. So I think she saw something and something happened to her. I just don't think anything was Asha Degree. I really don't. But I think but her story was definitely worth telling.
Absolutely.
And that's why we had her on the show.
That's the good thing about our platform. We can use to do that for people who I think needs to be able to tell their story, especially if it helps her at all in trying to get past any of this, because it's such a traumatic experience for her. It had to be, because you can just tell. It was so hard for her to get through that, to tell that story.
Yeah.
That's what made me believe her, is because you could hear the conviction in her voice and the emotions that she had. Did she reach out to you guys, or did you guys reach out to her?
She reached out to us, and I talked to her on the phone several times before we actually did the interview, just to get a feel for her and what kind of person she was, just to get to know her. And every time I talked to her on the phone, it was emotional for her. We actually had to
rein her in a couple times.
Yeah, rein her in and try to make it where you're doing this. We kept telling her, you're doing this to find something. Stay focused on what you're doing and not let it get in the way of your emotions right now. This is you and your conviction to get something solved. Stay strong and go that route.
Did you guys ever talk to her husband or her in-laws?
Never did.
No.
Never did. We were wanting to talk to her husband, but it just never panned out. It's never worked out for that. But yeah, I do believe something happened to Heather, but I don't think it was Asha.
Good question.
Very good.
Thank you. What's like your research process, and like how do you pick cases?
How do we pick cases in our research? A lot of times I'll hear something on the news or something, there's a development in something, and of a case I've never heard before. It's like a lot of these unknown cases that we do cover. So some of that, and me and Dale will throw it back and forth on it, and we'll look it up, we'll Google it and see if there's enough information we can find out there. And we actually have a subscription to newspapers.com, and we'll try to get on there and see if we can find stuff. But it basically has a lot to do with how much information we can find. There's a lot of cases I'd like to do, but there's just nothing out there to be able to do an episode on. And we have discussed doing some episodes that consist of several different stories in them to make,
because there's not enough.
Yeah.
Do a 10-minute episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. So it's just
a lot of times we'll just search, or we'll just say, well, what are we going to do? I don't know. And you just start Googling stuff, and something comes up, and we're like, ooh, this is pretty interesting. And I'll send it to him, and he goes, oh, we can do that if you want. I'm like, it don't matter, whatever. If he got something better, and then back and forth. And then depending on time of year, we'll use that sometimes to help us point some direction. And a lot of times we'll do one, and then there'll be something like Kenrex McElroy. We did that one. And then you find out someone in the same area, some other stuff's going on, and it'll kind of go to that, or we'll have recommendations from people sending us in. Go, what about this case? Have you ever heard of this? We're looking to that and like, ooh, no, but that's definitely worth doing.
Yeah, that was Skidmore, Missouri, and we done 3 stories from that one little bitty town.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they call it the most cursed town in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Did either one of you guys go into a field of study of true crime? And if not, what made you guys want to start looking into true crime?
Neither one of us have any kind of background in criminal justice or criminal studies. No, it's just,
cool.
Yeah, it's always been a fascination with me as far as mysteries and unsolved stuff. Because I was telling your teacher, Miss Sanders, she asked us when we came in what got us interested in this, and there was an old show from the 70s called In Search Of. It was hosted by Leonard Nimoy, the original Mr. Spock from Star Trek. He did a show on mysteries and cool things like the Bermuda Triangle and Amelia Earhart and things like that. And I always liked stuff like that. And I would read books on it and articles and magazines and stuff. I said it always stuck with me.
It was kind of unsolved mysteries before unsolved mysteries.
Yeah.
But more science fiction type stuff.
Then we got into Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted and shows like that. And that just always stuck with me. I just like the mystery of things and God, why hasn't this been solved? Or what? And another thing I tell Dale all the time, what compelled this person to do this? Who would commit this kind of crime? What was in their mind to do something like that? That's the psychological part of it is what gets me. Why somebody would do something. So
how can they do it?
Yeah.
Love stuff.
Yeah.
Well, with all that being said, what is your guys' most favorite or like your guys' favorite case you've ever followed so far?
Our favorite what?
Case that you followed so
Oh
far.
God. I guess the Asha Degree, we were mostly invested in it because it's right there in our backyard.
Yeah.
We were there the day she went and disappeared. Went disappeared. Me edit. The day she went missing, we live in Falston, but we were working in Shelby at the time, and we actually got stopped at a roadblock because they were searching cars and letting them know what had happened. So we were been there since day one, which was way before we ever started this. But that's kind of what drew us back into that case because it's right there in that area. It's, there's still flyers in the store like stuff here around. To this day, they're still there in that big sign on the road. So you can't really get away from it, even if you want to. I don't think because it's just so in.
And you can't go anywhere around there at any point where somebody's not talking about Asha Degree. Yeah. It's always being talked about.
Yeah, we have talked to her brother a little bit, and he said he would come. He said he would come on and do a show with us, but he just wanted the right time, and I haven't really pushed him on it. So I figure if he wants to talk to us, he will. I would like to do a show on her, the person, not her, the case. I would love for him to come on and tell us about her because all we know is she's a basketball player and she disappeared. I mean, if you break it all the way down. And I would like to have her story, at least the first 10 years, because I think that would be cool, and then later if he wanted to talk about more, then that would be great. But I don't know. I think that would be something refreshing, because it's just, I see her more as a person instead of a case, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
Yeah. Well, there's another case that really gets me. The J. Potter Mintz, the one I talked about, the girl that was murdered out there in Leland, North Carolina. And then there's a case right here in Gaston County that we covered, Jamie Fraley. Yeah, we covered it. And that's one I try to keep up with because it's local and she's missing.
Once you get into this, there's a whole lot of stuff that's really close that you don't know. There's been serial killers that we covered just went up the highway right by where we live. Yeah. And they just fairly close around. So it's kind of eye-opening when you think about it, how close they are.
Yeah. Very good question. Yeah, thank you.
Besides the Asha Degree case, do you have any other emotional attachment to any other case? Or like a case that you felt it in your heart before?
Yeah, there's several that I try to keep up with and research on. A girl from North Carolina mountains that went missing, Trini Gibson. I don't know if you remember, if anybody's listened to that episode. She was with her high school class and they went on a field trip to the North Carolina, Tennessee mountains. And she's been missing since the 70s and she's never been found.
Just walked off the trail and never came back.
Yeah, it's like some people saw her disappear off the trail, vanished.
Yeah.
Never.
A lot of that goes on in the mountains.
Yeah.
What was the kid's name?
Dennis Martin.
Yeah.
Another kid, Dennis Martin.
They were playing in a field and he runs into the edge of the woods. The other kids came back. He never showed up. They never found him. I mean, it was that quick.
Yeah, they were playing hide and seek.
Yeah.
And he just disappeared. He had on a bright red shirt.
Yeah.
He could have been seen easily, but he just gone.
Stuff going on in the mountain.
Yeah.
How do y'all find and talk to the people that are involved? Have you just talked to the person that was with the Asha case? How do you find and just talk to them and invite them onto your thing?
First of all, that's tough. To
Investigator Donnie.
Yeah, that's tough. First things I do is I get on the Facebook and I'll look see if they got an account and I'll research the person, find family members, try to find an angle in, and see if they've done interviews before. If they've done interviews before, they're more likely to do another interview.
We'll start doing a case and he'll come in. I found so-and-so's sister and so-and-so's this and so-and-so's that. I'm like, really? Yeah, I send them a message. Okay.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times we've only had one person that we asked that wouldn't do the show. And that was simply because of the name.
The name of our show, yeah. Yeah. And
it was a girl.
Missing from Charlotte.
Missing from Charlotte.
Kristen Modafferi.
Yeah, and she was killed or disappeared just in San Francisco. And this guy had went out there and like kind of lived in his van to search for him for her family. And we talked a lot about him in the episode, and we reached out and he was going to do the show.
And I talked to him on the phone a few times.
And then he found out what the name of the show was, and he didn't want to do it. He refused.
Yeah.
I was like, Nancy Grace don't care, whatever.
He said that was he actually put it down, you know, and like, well, okay, that's fine. You know, you have that's your thing. But
anyway, it was funny.
And we also, we had Michelle Rosen. We just did an interview with her. Her mother was a victim of the Tylenol murders back in '82. And Michelle actually reached out to us through another true crime podcast called True Crime Broads. Those two ladies are from Texas. And they'd met up with Michelle in Texas at a crime con. And Michelle reached out to us, and she don't do interviews. She's never done an interview on this, and she so graciously came on our show and told her story about the Tylenol murder. So that was pretty epic.
Yeah, we've talked to some pretty neat folks and made some great connections.
Oh yeah.
How'd y'all come up with the name?
How did we come up with the name? Well, that was the guy that I started the podcast with originally in 2019, Chris. At the time, you know, we were good friends, and he was just moved out of his parents' home, and he was living in a house that was pretty run down. It's actually the house that's on our logos. I don't know if you've ever seen the logo.
Did he do crack?
No, he didn't. No. That house, that's actually the house that he was living in. And this, no lie, we'd be out somewhere, we'd go out to eat and hang out somewhere, and I'd always make a comment, let's go back to the crack house and hang out, because literally when the wind would blow, you could see the curtain move inside the house. It was that run down.
So it was just a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke. And let's go back to crack house and hang out, because it looked like a crack house, really. And back when I wanted to start the podcast, I had asked him about doing the podcast, and you know, he was all in on it. And we came up with the name Crack House Chronicles. So it just sort of stuck, but it don't have anything to do with drugs or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's just a name.
It's just a joke.
It's
a unique name, and whether you like it or not, it kind of sticks in your head anyway. So,
but yeah,
it gets your attention anyway.
But yeah, that house is the house, actually the house he lived in at that time.
So we just use it for a logo.
Yeah. And here a while back, Dale had never seen that house, and I took him down there where it was. Yeah.
Have y'all ever got into an unsolved case that ended up being solved? And if so, were y'all like remotely close to the outcome of the case?
Walter Vernon McCraw case. He's a guy missing from Shelby, and we interviewed his daughter, and she was convinced that her dad, her dad was a transient. He was like homeless kind of guy. And she was convinced that he had got up in the back of a tractor trailer truck and fell asleep and possibly ended up in Canada. And there was a John Doe that was found in Canada, and she was certain this Doe was her father, and she couldn't find any answers. And I took it upon myself, and I contacted the right authorities in Canada and found out that Doe was not her father. So that it wasn't really solving the case, but it took that part off of her to be able to not look in that direction anymore. She could focus on other places instead of Canada for where her dad could possibly be. But he's never been found either. He's right there in Shelby. He's gone.
With all the subscriptions to newspapers that you guys have, which type of crime happens the most?
Oh gosh. Breaking and entering, probably. Yeah. But you know, that's getting more and more difficult with people with Ring cameras and surveillance cameras everywhere. I'd say breaking and entering probably the most.
It's not the most we do. That's probably the most.
The most that happens that I see people that are needing money for something or wanting to steal something to be able to sell it to get money, and drugs and things like that. That's probably the most common.
Or which ones do you guys like cover the most? Like missing cases or like?
God, I think it might be a toss up between missing persons and
missing and disappearances and killers.
Yeah.
Or just, I won't say killers because a lot of them murders are not necessarily the same as serial killers. I mean, it's the same result, but it's not.
We've done a lot of disappearances.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It might be 50-50.
Yeah.
We try to keep a fair balance.
To keep it interesting because it just, one after another. And some people might rather listen to that, but to us, to me, I need to empty this out every now and then. It's just, okay, we did enough people killing kids. Let's do something else for a minute,
Yeah.
Because that gets a little rough.
It does. You have to clean your palate a little bit.
And then you go home and your daughter's like, I'm going so-and-so. Well, you call me when you get here. You do this. You know what I do. I know what happens. I know with these people. You keep listening. So it just kind of, wait a minute, I can get back up a little bit. But yeah, it does get it, it does get in your head.
Yeah.
It does. Or mine anyway.
You said you do a lot of cases like based in like the mountains in North Carolina, and there's a lot of like superstition around that. So do you believe in any of like the paranormal stuff, or do you just think it's like people being at the wrong place at the wrong time?
I think it's people being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I will say there's some people that I follow that are really credible people in their field and what they do. And when they mention paranormal or, some kind of hocus pocus stuff going on, I'll pay attention if they've been vetted and they're credible in what they've said. I'll listen to what they have to say.
So you a Bigfoot guy or no?
I don't know. At one time, I guess I believed in Bigfoot, but Bigfoot never believed in me. So
Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah, this is great.
You guys are doing awesome.
I do have a question. I know that further on in their careers, like people who do these kind of podcasts end up with people in their inbox requesting that they do a deep dive into a missing friend or a family member. Have you guys had any request that, hey, can you look into my friend such and such who's missing and help me out?
Yeah, we get a lot of that. We get a lot of that. And that goes back to just finding enough information on it.
Yeah, actually, we had a lady reach out to us for another family. She had found our podcast, and then they were missing a son, Justin Hueyman, and he was like in a halfway house,
Idaho or somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. That's too deep. I remember the name, but anyway, he was like working in a halfway house, and then he just disappeared one day. And the family didn't know anything, hardly got any belongings. It was just very bad, and they couldn't find out anything. So we kind of dug into that a little bit, and then actually had the family on to tell his story. But somebody else contacted us for them. So yeah, that was probably one of the first ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, if they do contact us and we can't find enough information on it, we will try to get them on the show to get some questions out of them, get some answers from them too.
If nothing else, we'll get their story,
Yeah, because you can look up some of these cases. There's nothing on them. It's just an article, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you find several, it's
terrible.
usually the same little clip.
It's like it's a copy and paste thing where other media is copy and pasted what somebody else has done, and there's just no information out there. But we have a lot of people reach out to us about covering a missing loved one that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you decide to cover a case, do you speak with the family to get their permission first, or do you just go on about your way?
What kind of case? Like one of these?
Just say you find a case and the family is still alive, or the individual who's missing or murdered, their family is still alive. Do you ask permission, or do you just run with what you find?
No.
We just pretty much run with what we got because a lot of the stuff comes from newsprint that's been
documented.
So we just pretty much go with it.
And we have done stuff like Buff Jones,
Davina
Buff Jones from North Carolina.
Yeah, that's another case that me personally have really invested in.
Right, yeah.
Emotionally. And yeah, she was a girl originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. that went missing. Bald Head. No, she was
went
murdered.
missing. Yeah.
She was murdered on Bald Head Island.
She was a police officer.
Yeah.
But anyway, we did that case, and then we reached out to one of our sisters, and she came on and talked to us. And then her other sister contacted her, wanted to do it. So the Buff girls have been really friends of the show, and they were really glad we do it. And to actually keep the story alive, that's kind of what we do, you know, because it's unsolved. But there's a lot of sketchy stuff going on. I don't know if you got into that case, but it's a good one to dive into, especially as much as you like it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. And the second sister, the first one was like, you have to ask someone. I don't know. Second one, she's gonna let her know, and she's told it how it is, and didn't care what nobody thought about it. Because
have you had any backlash from family members after a case or has been posted?
No, I don't. Nothing I know of.
We only had one person reach out and say something about they were scared or something. What was that?
That was this was an Asha Degree related thing. A lady that I talked to several times that lived over there in the neighborhood where Asha lived. I talked to her on the phone and emailed and texted back and forth. I forget what format it was on, but I did talk to her on the phone a couple times, and she just ghosted us. I mean, it was just.
Well, first she wanted to talk, then she didn't want to talk, and then she wanted to meet but not record, then not read, and then meet in the grocery store parking lot just to tell us some stuff, not record. But I get it because she was saying some some pretty serious stuff about some folks. But then it was more about stuff that had happened to her in that same area. So she thought maybe some guy, you know, had done to her what she had done to her, and then she was still want to talk, and we were like, well, we can change your voice, whatever you want to do. If you want to talk and tell your story, we're glad to have you on, and we can do it anonymous and do that. And it was all good, and then nothing gone. Yeah. So I guess she just changed her mind. I understand, you know.
I emailed her back a couple times and got nothing.
And then there was was it in Chicago? That lady, the guy went missing, and she was afraid it was like some drug lord or something happened. And
yeah, we had a lady. It was her brother that went missing, and she had actually contacted us wanting us to take an episode down that we did on it because there was some information in there that she didn't want out. But I didn't take it down. I mean, I left it up, and then I hadn't heard anything back.
Right.
I hope she's okay, but I mean,
edit.
Yeah, I didn't take it down. I thought about it, slept on it a couple days, but didn't take it down.
Have y'all ever interviewed or talked to someone that you feel like knows more about the case than what they're actually letting on?
I think, well, the Davina Buff Jones, I think her sisters know a little bit more about what happened to her. There was a lady, a friend of the family, that wrote a book, and I think she knows some more stuff that's out there.
You wrote it under a fake name?
Yes, she wrote it under a fake name. And she graciously sent us a copy of the book. Yeah.
That's basically getting into she was killed on was it Bald Head Island?
She was on Bald Head Island, yeah.
Which is a pretty uppity island.
Yeah, it's very exclusive island.
And so they basically have police forces. Basically, they treat them like rent-a-cops, like because they're super rich folks and they just think they can do what they want. And then so we think that she saw something she wasn't supposed to do, and they killed her. I don't think it was an inside job or something. And then the sisters think this too, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So I guess you have to kind of tiptoe around because you're messing with power, money, power, and that's not a good thing.
I'd actually reached out to the FOP representative for Davina Buff Jones.
Fraternal Order of Police.
Yeah, Fraternal Order of Police representative for Davina. And he messaged back with some threatening verbiage, saying that we were trash and her sisters were trash and how dare we bring his name through the mud. But he was spotted on that island that day she went missing. Yeah. Yeah, I'll leave it in there. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah.
She said, what did he say?
What did he say? I don't remember. I think I've got it in some emails or text or something, but it was, pretty much.
Mind your business.
Yeah, mind your own business, stay out of this kind of thing.
Do you guys ever like try to refrain from super controversial topics? I mean, y'all have a big platform, so if y'all said something that could be considered controversial and the big platforms you use, like, do you ever worry about receiving backlash on your opinions, or do you just try to keep it straightforward? Like, obviously, especially with how much you're involved with the Asha Degree case and it being local for you, if you were to come out and say, I don't think she's being found, do you think that you would receive backlash for that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I feel like we could put in that we could get backlash from.
Yeah.
Do you try to just keep those things out?
Yeah.
Tip your toe around that.
Especially opinions. We will, at the end of the episodes, we'll tell what we think, but there's a lot more that we think that we don't put
especially
in there.
That case.
Yeah, especially that case. So we don't. We tiptoe around some things.
Kind of keep it.
Well, we try to keep to what's known when we're doing an episode, can be proven as fact, and then go over some popular theories on some things and what we think. But we do tiptoe around some things.
Well, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Especially when it's really, really close, because you don't want to be in the store and and it's not like we're that well known, but
yeah.
I mean, it's a billboard on it.
Out of all the platforms that you post your podcast on, what gets the most views or listens?
Probably Apple Podcast.
Apple, yeah.
Why do you like the reviews on Apple Podcasts so much? Because I use Spotify, and y'all always like 5-star reviews on Apple. You're like, Spotify comes in late, and it's like, I want to be like, hey guys, love today, but the Spotify came in late.
We do Apple because people can leave reviews on there, and they'll actually physically go in there and write something and give us a review.
They'll alert us.
Yeah, we do get alerts on that. And Spotify, you can do 5 stars on there, and people can comment on each episode. If you just scroll up, you can write something about the episode.
But it doesn't let us know if anybody does that. And I think the Apple thing for the algorithm, for some reason, does much better than the other platforms. I wish it was different because those were probably the top 2, Spotify, which is what I use all the time.
Yeah, I use Spotify.
And Apple. And then, but it's crazy. Like on YouTube, we do YouTube, but it's only audio, right? And we have an episode on there for Randall Woodfield, who was a killer that once tried out for the Green Bay Packers and was in training camp with them. And then it's probably got 23,000 views on there.
Yeah, it's got a lot.
And you go over to the audio and it's nowhere near, and it's just weird how it's so offset. That's probably our biggest one, I would say, especially on YouTube anyway. But
yeah,
it's strange how it's different, And then a lot of times it's hard to trust if Lisbon numbers are correct or not anyway. But
Lisbon is our platform.
Yeah.
Our host that hosts our content that I upload to, and it distributes out to all the platforms for us.
So you guys said that you had kids. While researching true crime, did that influence the way that you think about your kids or the way that you parent?
Oh yeah. Especially the deeper you get into it, and you see how people work and how they think, and it can be Joe Nobody, who seems the simplest guy, but he shuts the door and he's in there just hacking somebody up, So you start looking for stuff.
Did you guys ever
put your head on a swivel? Yeah.
Did you guys ever change anything?
You ever what?
Did you guys ever change anything
about
the way
how we do stuff?
Yeah.
We pretty much stuck to the same thing the whole way.
You mean in parenting or?
Yeah, like parent or anything. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like changing rules and
like
stuff.
I have a daughter who lives in Charlotte. When she first started going out, I'm like, okay, it's like you're a baseball bat, put this behind your seat, but it's not a weapon till you use it. So you can have that, and I'm like, anywhere you go, you get out of the car and you look around. Don't do this. And walk around with your phone stuck in your face, because don't take it that long and you're done.
Yeah.
So I really stay on them about paying attention in a crowd and look around. Just always keep your eyes open, and because you never know. Mm-hmm. And it could just take a half a second. You just walk around with this and step off the curb or whatever. Especially if you're getting out of your car in the parking lot or whatever. Always check your surroundings, because the next episode will be about you. Good question.
Whenever you do local cases in your county, do you ever feel like your safety is at risk?
No, not yet. that goes back to that tippy toe thing, And I did have one of my family members say that they saw someone at a local restaurant the other day, and they sent me this video, and it's like, you can see the blinds, and they're like, yeah, they said Roy Dedman's here at this restaurant. I'm like, what? Like, yeah. And you see the blinds, so they're outside filming through the blinds. I'm like,
this was just the other day.
Yeah. I'll show it to you. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty wild. Was he by himself? It's like, no. And then there's another video comes a little bit later, and it's like, you could tell it was one of these. I was like, it's hilarious. But yeah, that's kind of like, oh,
it was Roy Lee sitting there, Roy Lee Dedman in that restaurant.
Yeah.
It looked like his wife.
But yeah, it's kind of funny that people kind of get in, and they got to get involved as well, you know. And we've had a lot of people contact us about Asha and a lot of stuff. We've been given a lot of information, but we don't know how much is true, so we don't put it out there.
Did y'all get into the O.J. Simpson case or no?
Did we get through it?
Like, did y'all
We never covered
study
it, but I watched it when it was happening in real time.
Do you think he did
the whole
it?
thing?
Oh yeah. I think
No, he didn't do it.
Yeah, I think he did.
Not at all.
They made a shirt that said OJ did it, so he's got
I just remember making a guy work so mad that day it happened. He come in and he said he was so mad. I said, I told you didn't do it. And I just kept poking it.
I know this is a big case, but it got really popular like 2 months ago with the show coming out. Have y'all ever been over the Menendez brothers case? And did you watch the show? I mean, because obviously whatever the director feels like happened, he's going to produce it. And with it being so big and the director being the same one as the Jeffrey Dahmer show, obviously it had a big following. Right. So they could just put their opinions out. So what do you think about that?
That's pretty smart. You look at it a good way because you know they're going to twist it to their point of view. But I haven't finished that series. I have watched about half of it. But we haven't done that. We could do it. I have had people ask us to do it. That was another one where we thought, yeah, has it been done too many times? But now there's more information coming out, and it would be a good time to do it. Yeah. I guess probably one of the bigger ones we've done that's kind of popular right now is the Susan Smith. We did that one, a while back. And that was, when you dig into that, there's a lot of that to that background too.
Do you think they deserve life in prison?
The brothers? Depending on how much of this abuse stuff to me is true.
If they can prove the abuse stuff, then that could definitely weigh in on it as far as they need to be paroled or not.
Do you think they should have gone back to trial to like retrial everything and test things with the new information that was found? Or do you think it's just going to be the same thing over again?
Well, they left a lot out, didn't they?
They did leave a lot out.
So that goes back to, is it true or not? I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they deserve all this new stuff that's come out. It's just a call come in. I think they deserve anything.
Nosy.
All this stuff has come out. They deserve some kind of review on it. I don't know, a trial or what, but they deserve something.
At this point, have they, 35 years they've been in there?
Yeah,
it's been that long?
30 years. Yeah, so they deserve some kind of review on their case with all this new information, definitely. It'll be interesting to see what the justice system has for them.
Do a lot of people like around y'all still talk about the Asha case, or is it kind of like went quiet?
Oh, it's still talked about.
It was really, 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 a couple months ago. I mean, it was just everybody was, and it's kind of died down a little bit since, they went in and did all those search warrants and all that stuff. Until, that was, it brought her back up, but it's never, ever just gone away. It's always talked about. But yeah, it was really, in the forefront there for a while. And it's kind of died down. I think everybody's just like, well, that was all for nothing, but they don't realize, like you guys would probably know, how long it takes to go through all that evidence forensically and check it out and do the DNA and all that, or anything that they found in those houses. So that they can't just go over there and then come back and arrest somebody. And I'm sure they've got a lot more than they've let us know. And we talk to the sheriff every now and again, but they don't let nothing out.
Cleveland County Sheriff's Department is tight-lipped. They will not tell you anything.
And I know the sheriff personally, and I've talked to him. I even asked him about the Sundrop truck. I'm like, listen, we need to know this because we get a lot of, we had Mark Davis, because he was a, former deputy, and he said that the guy was in his personal truck, which makes a lot of sense to me. But then people on Reddit are just hammering him because they're like, yeah, it's not true. He was in a Sundrop truck. So I'm like, well, maybe he was in a a sun-drop pickup truck, because they have those, they just go around and check stores, not the big long box truck or semi, because they're saying he turned around so many times, and in that area, it would not have been easy to do that. So I reached out to the sheriff. I'm like, listen, can you just confirm this? I was like, I know it don't really have a lot of bearing on either way. Was it his truck? Was it a sun-drop pickup truck? Was it a delivery truck? Or what was it? And he said, well, let me get back to you. I said, all right. So I gave him the weekend, and I reached back out and said, I didn't want to bother him on Monday, but Tuesday I messaged him. I'm like, so what do you think? He wouldn't tell me.
No.
Not at this time. So
I was visiting a box sun-drop truck, a big long truck. There's no place to turn that thing around. There's very
you can do it, but
limited
it's way on up the road.
It's way on up the road. There's no, unless he pulled in a driveway and backed it out into the highway, there's no big places to turn that truck around.
So that would make a lot more sense if he was in his personal vehicle heading to work. And if he's heading to work, why would he have a delivery truck at home? You know what I mean? He wouldn't take it home with him. So if he's heading to work, why would he be driving that anyway? So I don't know. It's little stuff like that bugs me.
I have a lot of doubt about the sun-drop driver.
Yeah, he's another one that wouldn't talk to us.
Yeah, I've talked to him, but he won't talk to us. He just won't do.
So I know y'all haven't covered the Idaho 4.
No.
Any chance that we're going to get coverage on Koberger when he comes up for trial next year?
We may do that case. It's been done a lot. One of them that a lot of other places people have covered it, but we may cover it eventually when it gets closer to trial.
I know it seems kind of overplayed, but I also feel like because they were 4 younger individuals, it definitely brings in the perspective of college-age kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they're definitely looking at it. Also, I just don't know how this man had stamina to kill 4 people with a K-bar knife, because that sounds insane.
Oh, I know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Michael Myers.
Yeah, leave that sheath laying there. Yeah.
Thank you. Have you guys ever done or been interested in any international cases, whether it's someone from America being killed internationally or just happening fully internationally?
No,
we've only done one from Australia, but that wasn't somebody from here.
No, a couple from Canada.
That was that lady who was cutting up people and cooking them.
Yeah.
And in Canada.
No, we've never done anything on.
Would you do any in the future?
Very possible.
What was Unknown Passage?
Yeah, Unknown Passage podcast. It's a girl from Australia.
Yeah, she's a friend of ours.
Yeah, she does episodes on.
All her stuff is like that.
Travelers.
So it's a great one if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
Unknown Passage.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you guys think that the cases that are now open, whenever they do close these cases, do you think that they'll ever come out with the information about them, whether that be locally or non-local cases?
I think once they're cases that are solved, if they ever solve with the Asha Degree, all that information, if there's ever a trial, it will be public record. They will make it public record. It's just making time.
Do you think that the Asha case will ever be solved?
Now I do, since all the search warrant stuff has come out, and I think it will. I really do. It's just getting there.
So I know you said that you've been interested in crimes, but why did you actually start the podcast?
Why? One thing, I'd listened to a lot of podcasts, and they were covering things in a way that I didn't like the way they were covering it, or the approach they did it. And it sounded like they were reading from a script, and it was all like they were just reading the news. But I wanted to be more open and just like some guys just talking about a case, but with the facts about the case. And we do have a timeline. We cover them, but we just refer to it and talk back and forth about the case. But yeah, that was one of the reasons, just to make it more personable.
So how you guys think we could improve our show?
I think you already did by moving to a new partner. The first couple episodes were rough listening to them, and then there was, maybe 10 or so episodes in. I was like, okay, I like this.
Okay, let me explain this. When I started the podcast, we literally recorded episodes on my kitchen table with one microphone sitting in the middle of the table. It was an omnidirectional microphone sitting in the middle of the table. That's how we got started. and we just improved over the time. And then eventually I got a studio set up in the basement, and we moved down there and got better equipment. So it's definitely an evolving thing. We try to evolve all the time and improve on what we do.
It was, to me, what made the difference. It wasn't the sound quality or anything like that. It was a lot of arguments there in the first couple episodes, and I'm like, who cares? You know, like, we're okay with a little bit of that, but going on for 15 minutes about, no, I don't believe that, no, I don't. All right, let's move on. And you guys do a good job of stating your opinion, and you may have a few one-offs, but you still stick to the facts of the case.
Yeah. That was one of the reasons that we parted ways, or I parted ways with Chris and Bill, because they actually got into an argument on one of the episodes, and that's when Bill stepped away. And it was just me and Chris, and we just had a different view on which way the show needed to go. And he just stepped aside, and that was that. And me and Dale, we've known each other for years, and I called him up one day, and he came over, and we talked, and been doing it ever since. You know, and it is an evolving thing. We try to improve on what we do. We try to.
It was kind of funny because I was on, working where I work, and I was listening to probably serial killers or something, and then I'd heard he had I think you posted or something. You had a podcast, and I listened to it and was like, okay. And then it kept going on. The first one was rough, like you said.
Oh yeah.
And then it's sitting there, I'm like, he didn't call me. Sorry, I missed you. Why didn't he call me? A little bit later, then one day he just sent me a text. Can you call me? It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to work. Yeah, so I called him, and he goes, you want to do this thing? Do what? You want to do the podcast? I'm like, sure. I don't know how I'll do, but I definitely want to give it a shot. So that's pretty much how it happened. And we went over there. And first day I show up, now we got a notebook full of notes and stacks of stuff. And we did. Are we out? Anyway, so that's how it worked.
I think it's disappointing to see when like smaller podcasts like get bigger and become more like media trained to talk about things the media wants to hear and only say things. So I think sticking to like giving out facts just about the case is better than just, you know what I'm saying, like getting media trained and putting out what they want to hear more than putting out what you guys want to say.
Yeah.
That's one good thing about being, I guess, smaller, because it's just us two, and we do what we want to do.
We stick to our guns on what we do. I appreciate.
What was your favorite episode about, like that you've made on the podcast? Like, what was your favorite episode that you like talked about?
Our favorite episode that we talked about?
You answer that one.
Oh gosh, there's been several. I don't know. We're heavily involved with the Asha Degree thing, of course. I know y'all got some questions about that, but there's some other North Carolina cases we cover. I guess North Carolina local cases, we find them more interesting and fascinating.
The Belmont case, Shirley and
there's a case in Georgia, Coney, Georgia, the Russell and Shirley Dermond. Yeah. There's actually been some movement in that case here recently. They were an older couple that were found murdered in their exclusive upscale home there on Lake Oconee in Georgia. He was decapitated. They never found his head. She was found in the lake.
They lived on the lake.
Yeah, they lived on the lake.
So they're thinking people came up in boats and then got them. We don't know the reason, but that one's always one to me.
Yeah.
Gaffney Strangler.
It's a gated neighborhood. Yeah, the Gaffney Strangler. Just across the state line. That's pretty fascinating.
What are your thoughts on the Asha Degree case?
We have a lot of thoughts on the Asha Degree case. Like I said, it's right there in our backyard. We pass by the sign at least every other day going to Shelby, going down 18 to Shelby and seeing where she lived. But I don't know, since the search warrant came out, I had so many views on it before the search warrant. And when all that was thrown on us, it's just like our head's done a 180 now. And I'm still trying to make sense of everything that's happened, who's involved with the Deadmans and all that stuff. So still trying to unpack all that.
Yeah, we still don't really know what happened. To me, the thing to me is the first 100 yards, and that's what I always say. To me, that is the key to everything. Sure, maybe she got killed on the highway. We don't know. Maybe this happened, but why did she leave? To me, is the first. That's why I say that, because it's basically from that duplex they lived in down to the highway was about 100 yards. So that first 100 yards to me is the key to everything. Why did she leave in the first place? you know, and all this other stuff is just as important, I guess, if she was killed or disappeared or whatever, you know, whatever the end result will be. But to me, it's just, why did she leave in the beginning? If she never would have left, nothing would have happened. So something made her leave in the middle of the night in a rainstorm when she's scared of dark and dogs and everything else. And it's cold, and get up and just walk out of the house in the middle of the night. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think that the shed was actually something she visited, or do you think that was evidence that was planted?
That's a hard question. To me, I don't buy it because it's way out of the way. And if did you ever watch the YouTube video we did?
Yes.
Okay,
Locations, yeah.
so you know, from her house down to the 18, and then it's a pretty good walk down the main road, and then to turn and go that far off the road, it's a long way to that shack behind that building. And if anybody saw her, it's not like she just jumped off the side of the road. That's extreme distance to me to go sit in that building. Now maybe she's trying to get out of the rain, or you know, it's possible that I guess she went through the woods. It would be a shorter way instead of going, you know, this way. But I don't know. It's strange to me, especially the stuff they found. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, to put only thing they can kind of connect is the pencil from Atlanta, you know, maybe the hair bows, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Do you think that Russell Underhill was murdered?
Who knows? I mean, the blunt force trauma and other things, very possible.
I think it was.
Yeah, Dale thinks it was, but
I mean, it just seems awful odd to me, when you add it all together, I don't know.
Do you have any theories on why Asha left her house?
To me, something happened within that family, the structure of that family, that got her out of that house in the middle of the night after a storm. Like I said, a little girl who's afraid of storms, a little girl who's afraid of dogs, afraid of the dark, to leave with no coat.
In a storm in the dark?
Yeah, something got her out of that house. But what, I don't know. It's something within that family to me.
And that's one of those cases, like we said, just being that close to us, it's hard to really go out with a strong opinion, and you don't know because it's so close to us. You just don't want to run into somebody at the store and you said this. I'm like, eh. So it's kind of, just kind of have to watch. I mean, you can think a lot of things and don't say a lot of things.
How long does it typically take you to like research before filming?
A week. Yeah, we start looking into cases ahead of time. Do we want to do this? And we put it on our magical list that we have.
Our list that we don't have.
Yeah, a list that we don't have that we say we're going to cover. And we do an episode, and then as soon as that's done, I start clearing my mind of what I just done and get into another episode and researching and collecting stuff that I can find on it. And if there's anybody we interview, I try to arrange that way ahead of time, start talking to people. So it's usually about a week, depending on what we do. If it's interviews, it's longer, but just a case about a week.
What murder case that you guys have researched has stood out to you the most?
The Davina Buff Jones case, we covered that one several times. She was a police officer that was murdered on Oak Island, North Carolina. She was looking into 3 guys that came on the island that were hanging out, possibly had some drugs, and they'd had a weapon on the island. She told them there were no guns allowed on Bald Head Island. And you could hear that on her mic that she had keyed up talking to CCOM. And that she was murdered, and it's still
right there,
yeah, right there in front of the Bald Head Lighthouse. And I've been there, and it's just a little small area about the size of this classroom where she was murdered. And those 3 guys or whoever murdered her.
It's a very influential island, a lot of money, a lot of power, a lot of stuff happened. They wanted their cops to be kind of go around and leave me alone because I got more money than you kind of thing. And then I think she saw something she wasn't supposed to, and they took her out. And her sisters are very vocal about it. We've had both of them on the show. They don't hold back.
Yeah, I'm invested in that case quite a bit. Anytime I see something, I'll check up on it. But yeah, it's pretty much, it's unsolved, and yeah.
Stuff like that. And then you get like Bill Bond and those kind of really torturous guys kind of stand out.
What's the most gruesome case y'all have talked about?
There's been a few of those, quite a few. Like he just said, Bill Bonham, serial killer, the Richard Ramirez. Yeah, he was the Night Stalker. And yeah, and then we was before y'all came in, we were talking about Israel Keys, serial killer. Some of the things he done.
He's the one that sewed the girl's eyes open.
Yeah. The Samantha Koenig. He'd had her in his shed and had her eyes sewn open with a newspaper there beside of her that with a date on it, so he could take a picture of.
She was alive, but she was not.
Yeah, you can actually Google that picture and see a picture of her. She's dead, but her eyes are sewn open with a newspaper there beside of her. That's pretty.
He had killed
straight
her
up messed up.
He had to go on a family trip.
He went on a
so
cruise.
He just left her in the building, went on the cruise, come back, and then done all this. So,
yeah,
that's pretty
yeah,
wild.
Richard Allen Chase.
Sacramento Vampire.
Yeah, Sacramento Vampire.
Yeah,
he done some bad stuff too. Lesser known serial killers that are just as rough as Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy. Yeah, Ed Gein. Yeah.
If you recommended an episode for like me to like start off listening to, which one would you like recommend?
The one where Dale started with us. What was that? Episode 14?
15.
Episode 15. That was Rhonda Henson.
Lenore.
Yeah, it's up in Lenore, North Carolina. She was coming home from a Christmas party and was murdered. Somebody had shot through the back of her car and killed her.
Yeah, with a rifle.
With a high-powered rifle.
I don't know if that'd be the one I'd say start.
Yeah, start at the beginning and go. Just keep going.
Yeah, it's going to get better. So.
Yeah, and you can see the progression of how the show goes, the transformation, because we improve in equipment and microphones and things like that over the years. So, yeah.
What was it like being on Nancy Grace?
Nancy Grace's show was very interesting. It was very interesting. Yeah, we did the Nancy Grace True Crime Stories with Nancy Grace a little over 2 months ago.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we were talking about the Asha Degree case, especially when the search warrant came out. We're real good friends with Karen Stark, who's a frequent guest on Nancy Grace. And the day that we were supposed to be on the show, they just put in new sound equipment, and we kept getting pushed back for our time slot that we were going to be on there, because I guess they record a bunch during one day, and we kept getting pushed out, and they were having sound quality, but the experience was great. We learned a lot. We learned about how those shows like She Does are done and how they're edited, because there was a lot of things that was done in the show that didn't make the show. So yeah, so we learned a lot, and it was very fascinating to be
If
on.
we ever get invited back, it'll be much better.
Yeah, it was a big learning curve for us to
All
do.
that come from us having Karen on our show talking about Asha, and Donnie reached out to her, and she said she'd love to do it. So then she started researching, and then she did our show, and then she told Nancy about it. They didn't know anything about it, and then that's how we got on the show.
And then I was at work one day, and I got a text from Karen Stark. Nancy Grace's producers are going to call you. And there it was. My phone was ringing, and it was Jackie Howard, who's a producer of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. And I was talking to Jackie Howard, and she's going to have the other producers call. And I was on the phone with them about all day off and on, lining this up. So it was pretty fascinating turnaround to get this done.
The way that come about, I was talking to Karen when all this search warrant stuff was going on. So I was like, why don't you come down here and you can bring your buddy Nancy, and I know y'all can get some answers for us. You know, I said it can be the inaugural Karen Stark show, and you can have us on as a guest. She said maybe it'd be Karen in the crack house. I said, well, that'd be great too. So we just kind of joking around going about it. Well, then she texted me later and she said, maybe we can get Nancy to do the show. I'm like, yeah, okay, it'd be great. That'd be awesome. I ain't thinking nothing about it. Next day at work, she called me. They want to do it. I said, they want to do what? They want to have you guys on the show. So that's kind of, it went that quick, and it was like, it was
very quick.
Yeah. So it was fun.
I guess because the search warrant coming out, that's how they made it quick. They pushed it ahead of everything else they were doing. Yeah. But it was a good experience.
Have you guys researched the Murdaugh case?
We have, and we've looked into doing it, but it's just so much. It's been done so much. I don't know if we may do it in the future.
We did a show with Seton Tucker?
Yeah, we what's the name of Matt Harris and Seton Tucker. They do a podcast. Matt Harris, he's a DJ from Charlotte. He's on with Matt and Ramona. I don't know if you ever listened to that. Matt was supposed to be on the show with Seton Tucker, but he had a family thing that night. But Seton was on there, and the Murdoch Family Murders or something. I think that's the name of their podcast. But we had her on there talking about it, their podcast and their coverage of it.
What are your guys' thoughts on the case?
On the Murdoch case, a lot of money involved. I think Alex was involved with so much embezzlement that he had to do something to try to cover that up. That's what I think. Because I don't know, has the embezzlement stuff come out? Is all that still going on? Yeah, I think he was just so involved with all that embezzlement that, and I think he had some drug use too, taking.
Like a lie to cover a lie to cover all of it.
Yeah,
take them all out.
And then he had the boat case pending and all that.
That pesky Snapchat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bubba the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was just in over his head.
Have you ever covered a local case like in Belmont?
We did the Gaston County case. We did Jamie Fraley. Yeah, she's a girl who's missing from here in Gaston County. We covered her case. Yeah, look into that. That's pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Do you like talking about more local cases to North Carolina or the bigger cases with serial killers?
We do enjoy North Carolina local cases. When we find one, we definitely look into it. But it's just finding the information.
Or for a double, like what's the guy, Taco Bell guy?
Yeah, Wallace, William Henry Wallace.
Yeah, no, he was a North Carolina serial killer in Charlotte, but he was killing his friends. So it wasn't like it would be people he worked with. He'd give you a ride home. Next day he might come kill you. So that stuff. And then Velma.
Yeah.
Velma Barfield.
Yeah, Velma Barfield, North Carolina.
She was the first woman put to death in North Carolina.
Yeah. She was an older lady that was a serial killer.
And she was poisoning husbands. So there's a lot of both. But
have there been any cases that particularly change your perspective on crime and justice?
Ooh, boy, y'all got some good questions. Y'all got better questions. Those thought-provoking questions than the last class had.
There's been a bunch where we look and just see what we thought that law enforcement really screwed up some stuff.
Oh yeah.
Majorly. And then some did or not. So it's kind of a
like the one we just did, the one from Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a shooter that was going around killing people in a neighborhood, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, that's like the FBI in Canada, they sent out a tweet saying there's a firearms complaint.
Yeah, stay in the house.
Yeah, it wasn't
a tweet. That's it.
Yeah, they just sent out the emergency alert system, or alert anybody over how they come in on your phone and send out a notification. It was a tweet they sent out.
And this guy ended up killing 22 people in 13 hours. And a lot of people, but he was dressed as a cop, and he had a lookalike police car. So people would go up to him and look at what he needed. He would kill him. It didn't matter. It was just that crazy. And all they did was send out a tweet, and then he sent one about 10 hours later. But, yeah, that was.
I say, the law enforcement failed miserably on that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Or getting the notification out on alerting people. They sent out a tweet late at night.
Yep.
So unless you have notification, if you're on Twitter at the time, you have notification turned on, you're not going to get it.
It's just odd to me that they would use Twitter to send that kind of information. Then it's saying firearm complaint, not this guy's just shooting everybody sees.
Yeah.
Are y'all always finding cases here in North Carolina, like always, or
it blows my mind?
Yeah.
The cases that we will discover, and I'll tell you, there's a missing girl right down the road here that we had no idea, or there's a murder happened here that's unsolved right down the road.
Well, it's like the Gaffney Strangler when a guy brought that up to us. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just across the state line, in Gaffney. But, it's just I guess you don't know if you don't look into it. There's a lot of stuff happening right around you. You have no idea it happens.
Yeah.
It's scary, actually.
It blows my mind the number of cases that I've found in North Carolina that I want to cover. It's just finding the information for them.
We don't only do North Carolina stuff.
No, we cover cases from all over. Yeah. It's just fascinating.
We usually stay away from the really, really big ones just because we think they've been done to death, but not necessarily don't mean we wouldn't do them.
This is extra credit, guys.
Was.
Who would you say is the brains behind usually finding the cases? I know you guys said you work together, but is there one person that says, hey, let's do this one. What do you think? Or do you both research and then?
It's 50-50. Yeah. It's 50-50.
Sometimes you go, well, like I said, earlier, after you do so many people killing kids and stabbings and this, you go, let's see if we can get maybe a disappearance or something mysterious happen or something like that. But you just start researching or just Googling stuff that happens here. And if it's something really interesting, we'll bring it to each other. Doesn't matter what it is.
Or somebody will contact him.
Yeah.
One of his friends will contact him and message him and, hey, y'all need to cover this case. And then
we'll look into it. And if there's a lot of information on it and it's really interesting, we'll definitely do it. So that comes in handy, especially for local stuff you didn't know about,
Yeah, there's a case I'm wanting to cover from Lake Norman, the girl that was found in the lake up here. I've actually got her, Tina Martin. I've got her name on at work, wrote down with a sticky note.
A lady from work. Oh, dude, would y'all ever look into this on y'all's little show? It's like, okay. So yeah, that was pretty wild, but they knew him personally. And so, yeah, we put that note up, but we haven't done it.
Yeah, I've got a sticky note at work with Tina Martin's name on it. I've been wanting to cover for 2 years now, but it's just finding the information.
A lot of stuff, especially local, you don't find a lot of information. Just you get the same newspaper clipping, So,
do you feel like that's just because it's North Carolina that's not producing the information, or?
No, I don't think so.
No.
And it'd be like stuff, say she's disappeared and then they found her later in the car somewhere, something kind of like the guy we had on that does that, found those kids in Tennessee.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just how big the story is.
Exploring with Nug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they found a boy and girl that were been missing for years and found them in a river, their car in the river, and their remains were
just right off the side road.
Yeah.
But yeah, even when we had him on talk about that, it was kind of neat.
Exploring with Nug. He's got a big YouTube channel, big following, and I just happened to watch it one day, and he was sitting there doing an episode with one of our shirts on. I was like, how cool is that? Yeah. Yeah, it blows my mind to see stuff like that. Yeah.
Have the police ever reached out to y'all about any of the interviews you've done?
No.
I'm sure they've listened.
Oh, yeah, I know they've listened, but they've never reached out to us about it.
We had Mark Davis on talking about the Asha case. He actually reached out to us and wanted to do that. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, one thing about Mark Davis, he was on our show talking about the Asha Degree. He was one of the first officers there that morning she went missing. And currently, right now, he is battling stage 4 cancer. And he's having to go back and forth for treatments in the hospital and stuff. And anytime he gets a sniffle, he has to go to the hospital. But he reached out to us to tell us, he wanted to tell his story about Asha Degree and everything that happened that morning and all the relevant information that he knew about her case. So that was pretty fascinating.
He was actually, when we did Nancy Grace, we asked him and he came on too, but he was actually in the hospital on the phone on the show when he did.
If you listen to that episode of Nancy Grace and Mark talking, you can probably hear the hospital beeps in the background. He was, pretty wild.
Why do you think there's more male serial killers than female serial killers?
I think a lot of it is the sexual drive part of it. That's what I think. There's several female serial killers, but I think it has to do with the nature versus nurture. Exactly.
There's a lot of psychological stuff goes on. It seems like male kids get a lot worse in our research. I ain't saying in general. Of cases we did, when you dig into a serial killer and you start checking into the background, some of them had some terrible, terrible childhood. You're like, And then when you start doing more and you start seeing the same things, you can kind of tell what's coming, and it just elevates.
Yeah, they were abused as kids, suffered a head
trauma.
Yeah, that's always a factor in that. But most time it's the boys in their childhood, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's all the time, but
yeah.
How did you guys meet each other?
How did we meet each other? Back when we were teenagers, we were working at the Cleveland Mall. Yeah, Dale was working in the sound shop, the radio, record shop, not the radio, but the record shop, and I was working in Diamond Jim's, a video game room, and we just crossed paths. And
this is probably
1985, 1984, 1985, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was selling records and you were selling tokens.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've always been good friends, and we went our separate ways after we grew up, got married, had kids and stuff. But at points during our life, we always would be in be in contact with each other. But it's just, but we always got along. There was nothing. We just got along, and it worked out great, especially with the podcast and stuff. So,
good question.
Yeah, very good question. Raise them hands, guys. Raise them up. Raise them up.
Y'all bored to death.
What made you contact him specifically to go on the podcast with you?
Dale, he's very outspoken. He doesn't mind speaking his mind. Yeah. That was pretty much it. And I know he's got stickability. He's not one to,
I have to Google that one.
Stickability. We don't know what stickability is, right? That's a term.
Do tell.
But yeah, he's just, I don't know. Loyalty.
What keeps you guys wanting to come back every week and make a new episode?
Our fans. We have a pretty good fan base, and people reach out to us and complimenting on our cases and things we do and things we cover and how they like the show and the format, and the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of really cool people.
Oh yeah.
Plus it's fun. I mean, we listen to stuff anyway, and you go listen to something, you find something and dig into it deep, and then you just want to give your spin on it, and people dig it or seem to,
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever listen to your own podcasts when you're just not doing anything?
Every week when I have to edit. Yeah, I do listen to it. Yeah, I'll edit it one time on Friday nights, and then I'll go through it again on Saturday mornings when I get up, and I'll usually listen to it 2 or 3 times before I drop it. But hardly ever after it's done.
When we first started, I listened to every one of them because I'm like, because I didn't know what to expect, right? Because he had been doing it. I started at episode 15. So I would, every time it dropped, I would listen to it. I'm like, oh, that's all right. Because I was scared to death listening to it because I'm like, how bad is this going to be? But it's like, wasn't too bad. So it got to where I would listen to it every week, and then I kind of got off of it for a while. So then I decided one time to go back to my first one and listen to every one of them. And you can really tell, how it evolved to get better. And then here recently, I probably hadn't listened to any in a while. And then not long ago, what episode I picked up, I don't know, but I just listened to
The
it.
Tylenol Murders, because we were going to interview Michelle Rosen.
And I listened to, no, it wasn't that one because it was one newer than that. Anyway, I listened to it. I'm like, damn, it's pretty good. And then it's just funny because I crack myself up because I'll be thinking of stuff when I'm listening to it, what I would have said, then I'll say it on here, and I'm like, this blows my mind. But it's just because I just cheap shot artist, if I get something to say that's kind of funny, I'll say it. I don't care, So, but we do listen to it every now and again, but not as much as that. But it's still pretty good because I'm like, man, it's pretty entertaining. We're getting better.
Yeah.
Would you say you're a local celebrity?
No.
Not really. Not really.
No.
A lot of people in town know me, but not for that. And it blows my mind how many people I do know that don't know about it.
I don't even.
Donnie won't go out of the house.
I'm a homebody. I don't go anywhere.
I'm going to town. I'm going to do this, hang out, do this stuff. And a lot of people know my dad was real big around the ship. You know, everybody. We went to Disney World, and people know my dad. You know what I mean? So he was a big man. He was 6'6" guy, 300-pound softball player, Hall of Famer, and everybody knew him. He was a car salesman in town. So I kind of got a little bit off, that. But a lot of people know me, and they know more now. But as far as local celebrity, man,
that don't even cross our mind. I mean, I don't even wear the Crack House Chronicles logos and stuff. Dale wears them, but I got hoodies and stuff I'll wear once in a while. But
heck yeah.
But I'm not hardly ever. I just have fun. I just have fun making the podcast, and
I figure you don't get much bigger billboard than me, so I figure it gets attention.
Yeah, you're a bigger billboard than me, so yeah.
People see the name, they laugh about it, and say, "What's about?" You can give them a sticker, and they'll check it out. And a lot of times, once they listen to one show, they'll come back. It's just getting that direction. Once they find out it's true crime, then they get into it pretty good.
Do y'all listen to any podcasts?
Yeah, I listen to several. We've made really good friends with other podcasters. The True Crime Broads down in Texas, those two ladies, they're specifically on the Missy Beavers case. That is their case, and they covered that case. And every time they drop an episode, I always listen to them ladies. And there's a podcast that's north of Charlotte, two ladies, they're mother and daughter. It's called Enmeshed. And they talk about family true crime and stuff, and they're really good. And there's several. I'll listen to some big names. I listen to True Crime Garage. I listen to the Murder Sheet we talked about, and Body Bags, and some of those. And yeah, there's several that I regularly frequent. And so yeah, I listen.
Donnie listens a lot more true crime stuff than I do. I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts and this kind of stuff. But I mean, we listen to a lot, but Donnie's he's all in. He'll come over here. Did you hear this? So I'll go back and listen to it. But yeah.
Would you guys ever go to CrimeCon as like a setup to visit?
We have thought about that, definitely. We've thought about that, yeah.
We wanted to go last time. It just didn't work out.
It didn't work out. It didn't pan out. Our schedules and stuff.
Michelle Rosen asked us this when we did an interview. We were coming to the one in Denver. Karen Stark wants to meet us. And it'd be really fun. I would love to do it.
Yeah.
If nothing else, just to get out stickers. It would just be cool to meet a lot of people that we listen to,
Yeah, there's a lot of them that I really admire that do podcasts that I'd like to meet.
Renner,
Yeah, we had James Renner on the show. I don't know if anybody's heard of James Renner, but he's authored many books, and he's big on the Maura Murray case. He's big on that, and Amy Mahalovic. So he's a big-time author we had on the show, talking about Lisa Pruitt, the girl that was murdered in Ohio. So, yeah.
Did you ever cover the Menendez brothers?
No, we haven't. We've really, really talked about it, and it's been done so much. And we may, because, some of this new stuff that's come out, we may end up covering that eventually. But we've sort of put it on hold since all this new stuff's come out with their possible release and everything. So we may do it.
Do you think it's like an excuse that their parents abused them for what they did?
At first I did, but some of these new allegations that's come out sort of made me think a little bit different on it. And I want to hear it and see how justice plays out for it, to see, what happens in that case.
You think it'd be justified if they did what they did for that reason?
I don't know. Probably not.
Right.
Probably
Extreme.
It is, but especially the one brother, I forget which one it was, actually going back out to the car to reload, then going back in and shooting. I thought that was a little extreme. But, it'll be interesting to see what comes out. Definitely keeping an eye on that case.
Should have brought the basketball card.
Yeah, I've got the Mark Jackson basketball card.
They're sitting in the background.
They're in the stands. It's you can Google this card, Mark Jackson basketball card, but Lyle and Eric are, yeah, are in the stands watching basketball game, but they bought season passes to the New York Knicks with the money they got from their parents' insurance money. But there you see them sitting in the stands. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. But I got that card. Pretty cool. It's up there with my true crime memorabilia stuff on my little shelf.
What's the oldest case you guys have researched?
Probably the Bloody Benders.
Yep.
Yeah. It was a family from the 1800s that they were on the Osage Trail, and they were letting people come into their little cabin they had there. It was like a little grocery store, general store, and they would feed them a meal, but then they would kill them. And they had a trap door in that little cabin, and they would fall down in there on some spikes, and they would kill them. Then they would rob them and bury their bodies out in an apple orchard. This was in the 1800s. Yeah.
So their cabin was like on like a wagon trail. So there's nothing. You come up to this house, come on in, get you a meal, and go in and lay in the bed, and you're dead.
Yeah. And I think, wasn't the bed spring loaded to fall down in the trap door? Yeah. Pretty wild.
Would you guys ever consider writing a book?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I know that many words or not. Possibly. I would love to do a book on just our adventures doing this podcast, but we've had a lot of them. Talking to people, doing interviews, people we've met. Yeah, very possible. Yeah.
When we met Melissa Brackman, that was really cool.
Yeah.
The Todd Cohett murders down in South Carolina, where he went superbike murders. The guy went in and killed everybody in the store. And then later they called him, he had that girl chained up in a storage container out in his yard. Anyway, we talked, the guy who owned the motorcycle store, his wife, we did an interview with her. And that was a pretty wild story. That was just in Rock Hill.
It was in Chesney.
Chesney.
Yeah, Chesney, South Carolina. Yeah.
That was pretty neat stuff. And she's probably one of the first big profile persons to talk to us, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Besides Kevin Katie.
Yeah, thank y'all. This was great.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for having us. It's been awesome.
All right, again, we want to thank Miss Jennifer Sanders' class, her forensics class at South Point High School in Belmont, North Carolina, for having us. And we're going to get out of here, and we want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings, because like Dale says, the next episode could be about you. This is the Crack House Chronicles.